I started to feel very itchy. Oh my God, I am so itchy. I had a vein here. I would have like red bumps. What is this? What could this possibly be? Don't move to Mexico, friends. I have learned this lesson the hard way. Viva Mexico, cabrones! Yeah. You know what? No. How about no? Stay where you are. Stay put. You're fine. You're fine. Your town is fine. Your city is fine. You have nothing to look for in Mexico. Nothing to look forward to. You know, I made that mistake. And I had to learn through the school of hard knocks. Don't make the same mistake. Okay? I am going to transmit this to you. All the horrible things that happened to me in Mexico. I'm going to tell them to you. It's going to be hard because there's so many. But I will do my best, okay? So I'm going to start by painting a picture. The city of Mexico, vibrant, festive, full of life. Yes. I arrived the day before Todos los Muertos, the day before Halloween. It is the biggest festivity in Mexico, and that should give you a clue, you know? That should give you an indication of what is going to be in store for you during this trip. I was staying at a hotel called the St. Regis. It is a very expensive hotel. It's a 5-star hotel. It's in Reforma, in the center of the city of Mexico. And I was going to stay there for nearly a month. And I was renting the biggest suite in the St. Regis, plus the supplementary room that was next to it, while I found a home to move into. The problem was, when I had been in this room for 2 weeks, something horrible happened. I started to feel very itchy. It started in my hands. You see? My hands. Oh my God, I am so itchy. What is this? What's going on? And then my arms. And then my feet. And then little red bumps started to surface all over my skin in little bumpy trails that followed the shape of my veins, okay? The trail of my veins. You see, I had a vein here. I would have like red bumps all over my veins. What is this? What could this possibly be? You know what it was? Bed bugs. Yeah. I was staying at the biggest suite at a 5-star hotel, and I had been devoured by bed bugs. And you know what's the worst sensation in the world? Knowing that it takes about 2 weeks, about 10 days, for the bites of bed bugs to show up, meaning they had been feasting on me for 2 weeks. Every night when I went to bed, the bed bugs would crawl out and bite me and feast on my blood all night. And I hadn't a clue until 2 weeks later when the bumps finally showed up. I was horrified. I should have thought this could be possible, you know? I should have seen it coming. There was a lot of dirty corners, dirty things around, and I should have thought that this was going to be a possibility. So, you know what I did? First, I went back to the hotel and I asked to talk to the director, but the director didn't want to come out to talk to me. They gave me every excuse on the manual. Meanwhile, I'm covered in bug bites. I'm terribly itchy, and I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, I learned about this in school. There's something called mal de Chagas, which is a disease that is transmitted by bed bug. And it doesn't show any signs of it existing until 30 years later, when your heart starts to get swollen and it basically bursts inside your chest. What if these bed bugs carry mal de Chagas? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I wanted to be seen by a doctor. So I went again downstairs and I raised the stink, asking for the manager to show up. And he basically told me that he didn't think those were bed bugs, but I managed to get him to call a doctor. And they did. They brought a doctor to my room, and the doctor checked me, and yes, in fact, it was bed bugs. So they wanted to pay for my doctor and for my medicine and leave it at that. And that's when I explained to this man that I am a journalist and that I was going to send news of St. Regis being infestated with bed bugs. And I was going to publish it all across Europe in every newspaper that would have it. And you know what they did? They decided to charge me $0. I think my bill at that point was around maybe $20,000 between like the two rooms plus room service for like 12, 13 days that I had been staying at the hotel. They decided to charge me $0, because it was so terrible that they knew if I spoke about this, there were going to be problems coming their way. So maybe at that point, instead of going to Sofitel next door and continuing on my trip, maybe at that point, I should have said, you know what? It doesn't seem like Mexico is such a good idea after all. I think I should probably go back to civilization. No, I wasn't ready, you see. I wasn't ready. I didn't think it was a Mexico thing. I thought it was a St. Regis thing. That was my problem. I thought it was a St. Regis thing. But, you know, the next problem was not so far ahead, because then I finally found a place to stay. I finally found my forever home. It was a big mansion on a cliff, and the owner of this place was the grandson of one of the owners of Televisa, the biggest TV chain in Mexico. This guy, his family, had given him this house on a cliff. It was a private neighborhood, and he rented it out to me. And I thought this was going to be a great idea. Big, beautiful house, great weather all year round, lush vegetation, cheap domestic help. This is going to be my dream come true. Yeah, I didn't know what was in store for me. I had a lot of problems in this house, and I go over all of those in great detail in another video called Dream Houses Are a Lie. You can look it up later. But I am going to talk about other types of problems that I had with people there. So in this house, I needed domestic help because the house was way too big. So the first thing is I needed cleaners, I needed a driver. Those were the most important. I needed a gardener. I needed a series of things. So I started hiring people through an agency, and they started sending me people, and I started to interview these people, and oh my God, oh my God, these people are willing to go very, very far with their lies. You know how everywhere you go, when you're trying to hire someone, they're gonna put some filters on their curriculum. They're gonna, add a little lipstick to their life experience, make it all pretty and nice, try to disguise some of the gaps, whatever. But these people, they take it to a whole other level. I had people bringing letters of recommendation, handwritten letters that looked like they had been handwritten by their 5-year-old niece because the handwriting was so bad and the spelling mistakes were so terrible and the signature looked ridiculous. Yeah. One girl told me that she had experience with children because she had been working at a Montessori school for a year. And so I asked her for the phone number of the school or the director of the school or something, and she gave me the phone number. And instead of calling the phone number, I added them on WhatsApp. And the picture on the account the picture on the WhatsApp account was a little girl in a bikini. It's not a little girl. Maybe she was 16 or something in a bikini. And I talked to her. I was like, hello, is this the Montessori school? She was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, hey, is this the Montessori school? Oh, yeah. This is the Montessori school, in fact. And she had told her friend to act like she was the director of a Montessori school just to land the job. They're terrible. You would figure that if you're someone who's so used to lying, at least you will be good at it. At least you will have some skill. But no, these people lie about everything, and they don't really learn anything in the process. They're terrible liars, but they lie all the time. All the time. What is wrong? And then I decided to hire people. That was the next mistake. So I had hired a bunch of people. The house was very big, and it had very big staff area with many rooms for the staff. And they had set up their stuff there. And I had multiple maids because the house was very big. So a single person couldn't do the whole thing. And that was an interesting experience. I had left them a key so they could come in and go out of the house. And basically they would rotate their schedule. So there would always be somebody available if needed. Well, eventually, as things go, these girls got into a fight. They were fighting one another. So one of them told me in confidence, hey, listen, you should probably check on with these two other girls because they posted on social media pictures that they took laying on your bed. Let me say that again. Laying on your bed. I was aghast, perplexed. I talked to these women. I asked them for their phone. And yes, indeed, they had taken pictures laying on my bed. Yeah. Little emojis. One of them had a religious phrase on it, something like, Jesus gives life, or something like that. Jesús me protege. Yeah, pretty bad. They had waited until I left the house one day and then decided my room was a good backdrop for their Instagram selfies. Yeah, I had to fire them. So I fired them. But before I fired them, when they were collecting their things, they were not going to just take it from this other girl, the other girl named Anna. They were not just going to allow Anna to screw their job opportunity. No, they were going to get back at her. So they approached me and they told me, you know what? You may think that you have made the right choice here, selecting, deciding to keep Anna instead of us. But just so you know, we only took pictures on your bed. Anna has been sneaking out of the house with the key you gave us every night. And she's been going to bars all around here and fucking boys every night. And she comes back at 5 a.m. just before you come downstairs for breakfast. I checked with the security cameras. It was true. That night I waited for her. I caught her sneaking out. I called the security guards at the gated community. Had them escort her out of the premises. Whew. Life in Mexico, not easy. Not easy. Right around the same time that all of this was happening, was when Miguel Bosé, a very famous Spanish singer, got kidnapped in his home in a very similar gated community. Apparently, according to all the articles, some of his domestic help had plotted with the gated community security body and some kidnappers to kidnap him and his son, and maybe his lover, I don't know, and ask for ransom. They succeeded at this. Yeah, I was not feeling very good. I wasn't feeling very good. And still, I still thought this was not Mexico's fault, you know? This was just me having bad luck multiple times in succession. And instead of leaving, which is what I should have done, I decided to stick the knife just a few inches deeper and then twist it. Because the house was very far from the center of the city. And I decided that taxis were hopeless and Uber is terrible in Mexico. So I decided that the most sane option here would be to buy a car. The most sane option, given all of the circumstances, was to buy a car, right? Buy a car. So I went to all of the car dealerships in Mexico, and I wanted to buy a nice car. So I went to all the dealerships, and I settled for a suburban high country, like the newest one that was coming out that year. I wanted it in black. I wanted it new, with leather seats, all of the accessories, everything, the whole package. So I talked to the dealerships, and I finally found one where my main concern was, I'm not going to be in Mexico forever. The day that I want to leave, will you buy this Suburban bag from me? And they were like, hell yeah. These cars sell like hotcakes. If you want to leave, we will be the first people interested in buying back that Suburban from you. Fear not. We will buy it in a nanosecond. It was going to take them less time to buy the Suburban from me than it will take to Don Petit to go back to the moon. A nanosecond. And so I thought, this is perfect. Like, I don't have to worry about getting cabs that leave me stranded or Ubers that never show up. I can just buy this car. It's pretty expensive. But, I'll buy the car and I'll use the car. And then when I want to leave, I will just sell the car back to the dealership. And it's perfect. It's a plan without cracks. I see no cracks on this plan. I'm looking closely, but I see no cracks. Well, yeah, that's not exactly right. Because, you see, I had no account in Mexico. So I had no pesos, okay? All my money was in dollars, in an American account. And so I bought the car with a wire transfer from my American account, and I was counting on them paying me back when they bought the car back the same way, through a wire transfer to my American account. But one piece of information that the man from the dealership withheld was the fact that there's some sort of law in Mexico that forbids people to move funds from Mexican accounts to foreigner accounts. So the only way that they could buy this car back from me was in pesos. So I would have need to have an account in pesos. The only problem is, as a foreigner, they don't allow you to have accounts in pesos in Mexico. So that wasn't an option, you see? And even if it was an option, I would have had to spend those pesos in Mexico because they were not going to allow me to wire transfer all of that money to a foreign account. And I cannot travel with cash in my pockets for that amount of money. But I had already bought the car when I realized this. I had already bought the car. A very expensive car. Very expensive car. And so now I had this crazy expensive car. I don't know yet that I'm never going to be able to sell it back. This is a piece of information I don't have yet. But I do have another piece, which is I don't know how to drive. I don't have a license, and I need someone to drive this car for me. So I started looking for a driver. And the owner of the house tells me, you know what? I have this driver who used to drive for me, and maybe he's looking for a job and you can hire him. He's 100% recommended. His name is Gabriel, and he's going to drive you around, and yeah. So he sets up the meeting with his driver, and because the driver came recommended by the owner of the house, I'm not looking at his documentation with a hawk eye, okay? I'm relaxed because this man worked for the grandson of the owner of Televisa, so this man is vouched for. Yeah, right, vouched for in Mexico. So he starts working for me, and soon I realized that this man is out of his mind. The first thing he did was ask me for money, ask me to lend him money to buy himself a motorcycle. Yes, you heard that right. I had just hired this man for a job as a driver, and he asked me to lend him money. He wanted to borrow money from me to buy himself a motorcycle. And this wasn't his only insane request. Every day, he came up with things that he needed or wanted for the car. He wanted me to buy him a special vest full of pockets. He didn't even ask this from me. He came with me to Costco and slid it into my cart. And then when I was paying, I told him, "Is this yours?" Yeah, it's for the car. You can pay for that. I don't see how that is for the car. He kept sliding things into my cart whenever I went to Costco. Things so crazy, like items so crazy as like testing, like a Nescafe tasting kit. It had a bunch of different capsules for the Nescafe machine from all kinds of flavors that I'm pretty sure he must have sold to somebody. Every week there was something new that was wrong with the car. One week it was the windshield. Another week it was something, a light blinking about the engine. Another week he needed to get the car's oil changed. Another week, every week was another thing. One week he told me that the police, he got stopped by the police, and they were asking him for documentation. And because the car was new, it wasn't registered yet with the city council. So he had to bribe them. He had to bribe them. And he was asking me for the $80 that he had to give the police. And it wasn't a lot of money, but there he was every week asking me for money for something else. And then he told me that it was now time to do something about the wheels of the car, because he felt like the car was unstable. He couldn't drive very well. The wheels were not stable for him to drive. This is a new car. This is a brand new car, okay? Brand new car. It's a brand new car, and it's a Suburban, okay? He should have no problems driving that. It should be like butter, all right? And this one concerned me because I lived on the cliff, and it was a pretty steep climb up the cliff, and I was afraid that he might lose control of the car, and then it's bye-bye, Jael. Whoa, bye-bye. Eventually, I figured out what was going on, because this guy disappeared. One day, he was gone. Hey, Gabriel, where are you? He's nowhere to be found. He doesn't answer when I talk to him on WhatsApp. Where is he? I don't know. He wrote to me about 3 days later, sending me the most disgusting pictures you could possibly imagine. Turns out the guy was in the hospital. He had been hospitalized for having kidney stones. And he sent me pictures of the stones he got removed. Ugh. Ugh. And I did the math. And I realized this man was on drugs. This man was a junkie. He had a heroin problem. I added one thing and another that I had seen from all the things or all the irregular things he was doing, and I came to the conclusion that this is what's going on. This is why he needed money all the time. So I fired him. But then the other driver told me that he had found something very strange. He had found nails on the wheels of the car. Oh, yes. All 4 wheels had nails stuck in them. Like somebody took a hammer and hammered nails on the wheels of the car. They were all hammered in the same direction. This insane person, this insane man, had hammered in nails to the wheels of my car, risking my life to get the little money of replacing the wheels that he was going to get from me. That's the level of insanity. That's the level of insanity for you. Yeah. And this is the attitude that pervades that society. It's a crazy mix of no regard for consequences, no capacity for risk assessment, lying as a second nature. You have no idea the crazy lies that I was told in my time there, not just by this guy, and not just by the women who were taking pictures of themselves in my bed, and not the woman who stole my key every night to go fuck people around the house. No, not even that. I'm talking about lies in every possible domain in life. Like every domain in your life is going to be dominated by a complete and utter lack of trust. And I'll give you an example. Something else that happened to me while I was there. I used to go to this place, this department store that is a luxurious department store called Palacio de Hierro. I would go there often and buy clothes and stuff, accessories, whatever. And I was buying beauty products. And this was so common. They would sneak products into your basket without telling you, like, the price of the product. They would just suggest you buy it like it was just anything else. And then when you would get to the register, you would realize that this guy actually sneaked into my basket an item that cost $300 without telling me. And then you're at the register. The woman at the register is like ringing your things, and you realize suddenly that when you ask the guy, "Hey, can you recommend me some lotion for my under eye area?" Instead of giving you like a normal lotion, this man snuck into your cart something that is worth 300 euros. And you get to the register and you're like, "Okay, this is not what I had in mind at all." But now you're paying and the woman already rang the item, and you feel kind of ashamed to ask her, "You know what? This is not what I was expecting. Please remove it out of the cart." And so you can't trust salespeople in stores, because you know they're going to screw you at any chance they get. Similar things to this happened to me a bunch of times. And you cannot trust the car dealership, and you cannot trust the people that are coming to help you in your house, and you cannot trust the guy who drives you, and you cannot trust the super wealthy man that rented you the house that you're living in, and you cannot trust that the hotel that you're staying at is not going to be riddled with bed bugs. And knowing that they're riddled with bed bugs, they're not even going to do anything about it. They never fumigate it, by the way. Bed bugs are still there. Don't go to St. Regis, Mexico. And so it is a country where no matter where you turn, you know that the people around you are not trying to engage with you in good faith. Everybody around you looks at you as a target, and they see themselves and each other as targets all the time, because this is not something that just happened to me. This is something that's happening all around. And if you watch that video that I told you of the dream houses and you realize the story that happened to me in that house, you'll understand that they're even doing it to their own families. They are even tricking their own families. It's a very unfortunate thing, and I believe this is something that holds them back. You cannot have a functional society where everybody is trying to dupe everybody else. It's like it's a very horrible feeling where you're going outside and you feel like it's a free-for-all, like it's war. Like you have to be very careful not to get taken advantage of every step of your day. So it doesn't matter how beautiful their beaches are. They have gorgeous beaches and they have wonderful weather and their vegetation so lush. And there's parties everywhere, so festive and cheap. And all of the wonderful, beautiful things that you were attracted to about Mexico, yeah, better not go there, because all of that is meaningless if you cannot trust your fellow man, if you have to go out the street every single day feeling like anyone is willing to victimize you for very little profit. So to me, after traveling so extensively throughout the world and living in so many different places, the number one thing in the scale of importance is how much you can trust other people where you are. That is the most important thing. Because if you can trust other people, then your life is going to unfold in a very wholesome way. Okay? You can take people at their word. You know that people are being straight with you. There's no second intentions in every interaction. You can rest. Your level of anxiety drops by a lot when you can simply rest and know that everybody else just wants to live their lives as best they can, with a moral compass. So my recommendation here is Mexico, don't go there. There's other destinations in the world. Maybe pick somewhere where people are more honest. That's it. Bye.